Welcome back to the Friday Club weekly marketing and admissions newsletter. This week, I'm really pleased to have Kevin Fullbrook join me of the Al-Bayan Bilingual School. Kevin, welcome and thank you for joining us today.
Hi Sophie, good to be here.
Thank you so much for joining us. Really excited to hear more about your school today, actually, because I think you're offering something really unique. And when we've spoken before, Kevin, I was really excited about the different things that you're doing at the school. Before we jump into some of our topics today, can you tell us a little bit about your school and about your role there, please?
Yeah, my name's Kevin Fullbrook. I was originally from Australia. I've been in education for about 20 odd years. So worked in a range of schools across Australia and Asia and now the Middle East. Now I'm director of Al-Bayan Bilingual School in Kuwait. So we're a school of about 2,700 students. From pre-K to grade 12, mostly catering to local Kuwaiti families and students because, as our name suggests, we're a bilingual school. So being fluent in Arabic is, I guess, a prerequisite to be successful at the school. Most of our, as I mentioned, most of our families are Kuwaiti with a small selection of other GCC and Arab nationals at our school.
Brilliant. So one of the reasons I was really excited for us to talk today, Kevin, is because you have this bilingual offering at Al-Bayan. And of course, I understand lots of your students come from the local area. Why do you think that the bilingual element's important for families there in your local community?
Yeah, so I think particularly for Kuwait, which is quite a liberal and forward-thinking country in the Middle East, that many of the families we have are very globally minded. They travel abroad to study, both for undergraduate and postgraduate studies and for business. So for parents, they have, I guess, they're strongly anchored in local traditions and culture and language is really important for them, their heritage of the country, and to impart that on their children as part of their schooling, but also having one foot in global mindedness and global citizenship and preparing their kids to travel abroad for studies when they finish with us in grade 12. So they look for strong bilingual options so that they get really the best of both worlds. And that's what we try to offer, and through our diversity of staffing and the programs that we offer to really meet those two worlds, I guess, and bring them together. Absolutely.
And do you think that this concept of setting the child up for study or travel abroad is a big part of the marketing for you and for your families?
Yeah, I think it is, and because they're of course, every parent wants their child to be successful, and they have particular hopes and dreams for them, and knowing that that's the destination for many of our graduates, and it's increasing as well, predominantly in North America, but now to the UK as well, Australia, New Zealand, parts of Europe. We see more of our students going for study. So it's not just about gaining entry to these colleges and universities, but it's about being prepared to be successful. So it can be quite a culture shock as an adult when we travel or live and work abroad. And, for our students who are 18, 19 to go and set themselves up and live full time and study in a brand new country and culture, after gaining admission is something that we can't ignore. And that's what our parents really value as well, is making sure that we prepare them with the skills and the dispositions that are going to make them successful wherever they end up as well.
I love that. I love that global attitude and ethos that's really central to what you're doing. So at 2,700 pupils, you're already quite a big school, aren't you? And I know that you've actually got waiting lists and lots of entry points into the school. What do you think is driving the appetite to attend Al-Bayan in your community?
Yeah, well, it's interesting when you talk to different families about what they value. So some really value the bilingual aspects of that and the programs that we offer. Some really value what that looks like when their students get through to high school and the preparation that they undergo to prepare for studying abroad. Others, that the extracurricular programs and opportunities we offer for international travel, pre-COVID, of course, and we're all looking forward to that returning as soon as possible. You know, other parents will talk about the diversity of our staff. So even though we cater to predominantly local Kuwaiti families, our staff is drawn from over, last count was 28 different nationalities of staff. So that diversity of background, again, coming back to the you know, international mindedness and the I guess the cultural melting pot, and bringing all that together to really bring a comprehensive and holistic education for their kids, not just in the, you know, academic basics, but turning them into well-rounded people is something we hear a lot that our parents value about BBS.
I think it's really clear why a parent would want their child to attend your school, and I can of course hear the passion that you've got for the school when you talk about it. With so many pupils there and, you know, a waiting list, I'll rephrase that, sorry, Kevin. With there being a demand to attend BBS, do you think that your parent communications are more about retaining families that are already enrolled at the school, or do you think you focus more on new admissions, or is it still a balancing act between the two?
No, so I guess our focus is certainly much more on giving information and sharing what we're doing. And I think if we do that well, it can serve the other purpose as well, because you know, if we share the great things that our students are doing, that our staff are doing, we share information about our programs, primarily focused on our current families, then, you know, I think that good news spreads, and through word of mouth and you know, reputation through the country. Where I know compared to many schools in the UK, we're very new, but we're 43 years old this year, which is one of the first bilingual schools in Kuwait. So we're well established. So I think through that reputation, word of mouth, I think you know, our focus is on, you know, sharing the great things we do with our current families, and I think that spreads from there.
Absolutely. And we hear about advocacy and word of mouth so much on these break time with interviews, Kevin, which leads me on to what you're doing in social media. So I know that BBS has this huge following on Instagram, 15,000 followers and growing, which will seem like a really high number to lots of the schools that are perhaps listening to this. And I imagine that they will want to hear more about how you got to that number, what kind of content you put out there, and how important it is for families.
Yeah, and I think the as we sort of discussed a little bit before, I think the context of social media in different countries varies. So in Kuwait, Instagram is ubiquitous throughout the country. It's, you know, everything. So lots of parents rely on it. Lots of people rely on it for both information, for, you know, sharing things, and that. So we found that as a really useful channel for our parents, for them to, you know, because you can share videos and photos and other bits and pieces on there that keeps our community updated. So I mean, the growth in that has been just organic. We just started that as a way to share with our community what we're doing, give them an insight into classrooms and programs that they wouldn't ordinarily see. You know, our parents and, you know, myself as a parent, you know, we're relying less on email to share information and important points. So how do you zero in on what's most important, and how do you get people to engage with that? And obviously social media is one of those tools that, you know, we found really useful, and our parents find as a useful way to just stay up to date with what's happening. So the types of things we share on there really varies from everyday happenings in classrooms, because again, parents for the most part don't get an insight into what's happening inside their child's classroom, through to sharing information about events, different videos. We shared a video the other day of the first day back to school, and so parents could share in that excitement and energy of that first day, of on-campus learning for 18 months. We also share announcements and things like that that are important that we want our parents to know about.
Absolutely. And you've just preempted my next question there, Kevin, actually. So thank you for that. You've talked a little bit there about how social media has been really important in sharing the excitement of returning to on-campus learning this week. And I know that, of course, that will have been a really big event for you this week after 18 months of virtual learning. How did that go? What's the transition been like going back to on-campus learning?
Yeah, well, look, for the most part, it's been fantastic. I mean, people have been wanting this to happen for a long time, and we understand why it wasn't possible with everything going on with COVID, and everyone's first priority in keeping people safe. So there was a lot of I think emotion and a little bit of anxiety and tension leading up to it. But I think as we walked around and seeing parents drop their kids off for the first day, just lots of smiles, people just happy that, it was just another indicator of things are getting back to, what they remember, and the good parts of, the good parts of our everyday life that we kind of missed under difficulties that people have gone through. So, very, very positive. People were very appreciative of our community, being patient, understanding of dealing with things were slightly different. There's different procedures and protocols as we work hard to keep people safe and make sure they're looked after, and social distancing and all of that. But for the most part, just people were relieved. I think there was a lot of relief that kids could finally come back to school. It went well. The kids enjoyed it. The parents enjoyed not having their kids at home. So as a parent, I can agree 100% with that one. So yes.
And in terms of managing all the emotion that surrounds going back to school, because of course for some students it's two academic years now, possibly longer in some countries, that they've not had a normal school year. How do you think that school leadership teams, school marketing teams can communicate what's happening in a way that reassures parents and reassures students about what the changes will look like and what it will mean for them?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And again, I think it's context specific, but there's also some just general principles that I think work no matter where, is being open and transparent and being authentic. So just letting people know what the situation is, and this is what it is, and this is how we're going to deal with it. And being upfront and saying things won't be perfect. Things are a little bit different. And we're going to be flexible, and we're going to adapt where we need to, but we're all going to work together. We're all in this together, and we're going to work in the best interests of our students so that it does work and that it is successful. And just being open and transparent around that, not trying to hide the things that don't work, and saying, look, this part of our operation, maybe it's drop-offs in the morning, or maybe it's some other element, transition between classes. So look, we're going to have to change it. We thought this would work, and it really didn't. But next week we're going to fix it, and it's going to be a lot better. And we understand your, appreciate your flexibility and understanding with that. And I think people generally appreciate that, even if you don't have all the answers as well. Not trying to sort of gloss over things or pretend things are all sunshine and rainbows if they're not. And I think people appreciate that. And, I'm really thankful and appreciative of our community that's really supportive, and, we all want the same thing for our kids.
Absolutely. And I think that's a really important thing to remember and keep coming back to. So I really appreciate the authenticity that you talk about and the openness with your families. One thing that has come up in our interviews in recent weeks, Kevin, is where a school might have a sister school or a partnership with another school. And I know that you've got the international school that is a sister school to BBS. One thing that similar schools might talk about to us is the kind of joint admissions and joint marketing activities that they do as a result of that. And I'm wondering whether you do anything in partnership, in collaboration with the international school.
Yeah, we do a little bit. So we have a sister school, so Al-Bayan International School. That's not too far from our campus, less than a kilometre away, and it has a different focus, and it is an international school, has an international curriculum, so it doesn't have that bilingual element. It's still rooted in the culture, and students still take Arabic and Islamic studies and those things. But it has a different focus and energy there. And part of that was to meet the needs of the market. And they were saying, well, look, we really enjoy the experience that our children get at BBS, but there was, we want a similar experience, but perhaps more internationally minded. And my child, for example, doesn't speak Arabic. So, is there an option that exists there for them? And they're doing some really wonderful things over there. My two children attend there and have a great time, and they know more Arabic than I do now, which is a problem.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to,
I can imagine.
Yeah, I'm going to have to jump on that pretty quickly. But, so we do share some services around facilities and IT and HR and admissions as well, because we have some staff like myself and other staff here who send their children to BIS, to the international school, and vice versa. We have some staff members at BIS that send their children to us, and we have some families who send their children, some children to BBS and some to BIS from the same family, for different reasons. So there are some overlaps between the operations of the school, but for most part, they're separate identities and a different focus of what they do.
Yeah, so separate identities, but at various points, it sounds like it's one community at some points in that operation.
Yeah, in some respects, and we want to use each other's strengths as well, because if we do that, then our children and our families are going to benefit from that in the long term. So
I know that you've had a really exciting week going back to the actual school campus then this week, Kevin. Before we do wrap up, what are you looking forward to now that you are back on campus and the rest of the term continues?
Look, we're very much focusing on learning of kids. We've spent a lot of time, and our kids and our parents have spent a lot of time worrying about the health and safety and logistics and traffic and all those other things. But really now it's focusing on their learning and individual support and feedback for every single child, and making sure that they're getting everything they need in the classroom, that we can hopefully take care of these other things that we need to do, but make sure that that's not the focus. Make sure the focus is on every single child in our classes every day. And how, as the school leader, how can I support our teachers to do that and to be able to focus on that as the core? That is their job. That's their role here, and that's why they love what they do and work in this profession. So very much looking forward to getting into classes and supporting that process.
Well, I think that's a perfect note to end on then today, Kevin. You've been an absolutely brilliant guest, and we're really grateful to have you here on the Friday Club. We hope that we'll hear more from you in the future. But yeah, thank you so much for today, and it's been lovely hearing more about your school.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Sophie. It's been great chatting with you.
Thank you. Take care.
Thanks.